Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the superjersh show. On this episode, we are going to review the movie Air, which was directed by Ben Affleck, co-starring Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. If you enjoy this podcast, you can watch it on YouTube or listen to the audio version on Spotify and iTunes. You can listen to the audio version on YouTube, of course, if you want. If you want to be a part of the show with any questions, comments, or suggestions, the email address is superjershshow@gmail.com. Joining me once again is Mirrors. Hello, Mirrors.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I am doing good, thank you.
Didn't order anything from Amazon, did you?
No, actually, no.
Good. Because I hate them. Just kidding.
Not sponsored by Amazon.
Yeah, definitely not. That's the one thing, if I had my way and, this podcast or the streams or old music reactions, if anything kind of started to blow up again, I still would not want to do, any ad shit if I could help it. You know what I mean? At least in the shows. There's YouTube ads that play or Spotify ads if you don't have premium or whatever. But I started, little side note here. Because I was recently shopping for a computer monitor, I watched a couple different reviews on monitors online because I'm, comparing and contrasting it within my budget, whatever, right? And literally 10 out of 10 times, every single video, just when you start to get started into the video, it's like, and that reminds me of my sponsor. And so let's spend 3.5 minutes of this 10-minute video talking about the sponsor instead of just getting to the thing. And I'm like, this is what's wrong with online content creation. This is what's wrong with YouTube. I hate this. I never want to do this. Anyway, rant
It's
over.
it's like the Truman Show.
Seriously. Exactly. I just want to live a normal, natural life. I don't want to be looking for the camera. What are you going to do, Meryl? Slice me or dice me? There's so many choices. Anyway. Okay. Let's begin our discussion about this movie. So first, I want to ask you, Mirrors, based on the subject matter of this movie, what is your overall familiarity with 90s basketball, in particular the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan?
Okay, so at the time that kind of like the height of their fame and everything, I was kind of too young to be really interested in watching sports.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of knew from seeing commercials on TV, seeing, Michael Jordan everywhere, ads, knowing about the shoes. So it was just kind of like word of mouth is how I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the movie Home Alone, there's a cardboard cutout of him in that.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So I was very familiar with that cardboard cutout of him from my childhood. But yeah, basically just knowing, who he was and that he was, this great basketball player and that he was just super popular. But no, I never really watched any of the games or anything like that.
Interesting. And so what about as an adult? Did you, have you watched the Last Dance documentary? What do you know about Michael Jordan besides his, stop it, get help? Besides that meme.
Um, no, I haven't. I did not see The Last Dance. I want to now. I almost did. Like right after I saw this, I almost went to look it up and watch it. But I'm definitely gonna watch it now because just of after seeing this movie, it made me really interested in it. Um, yeah, no, that I don't really know much about him, except for what was in this movie, and yeah, I haven't really followed up on him
Okay.
very much.
All right. So for me, when I was really young, it was obviously a big deal. And the Bulls and the NBA and Michael Jordan in particular. And I remember I had a childhood friend whose parents were obsessed with the Bulls. So, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Illinois, a couple hours away from Chicago. So, a family that already liked the Bulls, who got Michael Jordan and got to appreciate him being on their team. I have very, very vague memories of watching either their last championship or their second to last championship live on television with that family, and
Mm.
them head to toe in Bulls gear with a foam finger in the living room. And yeah. So and of course, the movie Space Jam, the original movie Space
Oh,
Jam,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
was Michael Jordan. And so that was a big deal to kids as well, really. So Michael Jordan he's the McDonald's of NBA stars, where he's marketed to children, and it's terrible for you. No, I'm just kidding. Um, it's a dig at McDonald's, not Michael Jordan. Anyway, yeah. So and I've, I'll say I've never owned a Nike shoe, and I've never owned Air Jordans, but I've known people who have owned them
Hmm.
and who have been obsessed with them.
Yeah.
So, um, and I'll just add too, then we can actually get to the movie review. I didn't really know anything about the deal of getting Michael Jordan with Nike. It's just one day all of a sudden Michael Jordan had Nikes. Like, as a member of the general public, without the internet, without social media, it's like, oh, and here's that the basketball player has this shoe now. That's like what we knew as, like, general consumers. And I did not watch the trailer ahead of time. Did you see a trailer about this movie, or did you know anything it was about before we decided to watch it?
Yes, so I saw like some TV spots and I knew that it was just about like the how the Air Jordans began, but I didn't, I don't remember any specific moments. I just remembered seeing Ben Affleck. I don't think I even realized Matt Damon was in it.
Okay. So that kind of covers our Bulls and Michael Jordan familiarity. Now let's get into the spoiler free review section of Air. Okay, so the movie Air was directed by Ben Affleck and stars Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Jason Bateman, Marlon Wayans, Chris Messina, Chris Tucker, and Viola Davis. I don't. It was released earlier this year. Looks like March 2023, and only a few weeks later it hit Amazon Prime. And even though it's been on Amazon for a couple of months, I never got around to watching it. I only watched the movie this week to review this podcast, so it's still very fresh in my mind. So, Mirrors, let's start with you. Overall, what did you think of this movie?
I really enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it. I'm a fan of like true story movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this extremely interesting, even though, like I said just a little bit ago, that I really had no knowledge of um, really anything about what was going on in it. So I thought it was entertaining to watch because I learned a lot and I was like on the Wikipedia like looking around like, oh, this happened, this is what this person looks like, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a really enjoyable. I loved the music through it, which we could talk about.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, I thought it was a really solid movie.
Is there anything that stands out to you, either excessively positive or excessively negative? Something that, after watching the movie, that kind of stuck with you, either the performances or any moments that maybe we can talk about in more detail in the spoiler section.
Well, I think Viola Davis is an incredible actress. So I was really like kind of captivated by her performance in this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think generally everybody else did a good job, but I mean, I love Viola Davis, so I was really happy to see her and to see her performance, and I feel like she'll get probably nominated for something for this.
Okay. So for me, I enjoyed it as well. I thought it was a really well made movie. I think, we've always kind of known Ben Affleck as the movie star. When I met him when I was a kid, it was Ben Affleck the movie star. Like, people forget that he no matter how jealous it makes you, because he's good looking, a movie star, and has the world, he's also a really good director. Like, he grew up
Hmm.
in film, so he learned probably a lot from working with a lot of other great directors, and so then became a great director himself. And not to take any credit away from him, I'm sure there are plenty of other act. Just because you can act doesn't mean you can direct. It is a different
Right.
skill set. It is a different type of knowledge base and passion that I think exists for directing versus acting. And I think that he, transitioned to director very well. And I think that he really knows how to tell, I think, a really well paced movie. I don't think this movie was very slow at all.
Mm-mm.
I thought it had a really good momentum. I thought the concept of the story of like telling this idea, this behind the scenes look, it's been, it's been 40 years now, 40, 45 years. Now we can actually be honest about what really happened behind the scenes to get Michael Jordan with Nike. And I thought that was like a really juicy premise. I don't know if there was as much drama behind the scenes as I was hoping for when the movie starts to set up. And I mean, I think I knew
Yeah.
I knew as well that it was about like the Michael Jordan shoe thing, but that's pretty much all that I knew as well. And I did not see the trailer. But I think I saw the poster when I loaded up the movie and saw it advertised on Amazon Prime. But um, I don't know. It's like I was really liking it, and I think the performances are mostly pretty good. I will say I think Matt Damon and Ben Affleck stand out for a couple of different reasons. Number one, the fact that you're watching two best friends, two big time movie stars, and at some point in the movie, it does just become those characters, and you're just in the story. I think that's like for me, that's kind of how I judge the success of how performances and how storytelling is going. Because at the start of every movie, I'm a movie nerd, so I'm like, okay, it's Ben Affleck, it's Matt Damon, these are movie stars, this is who did it, whatever. But then as the story kind of envelops itself or unenvelops itself and reveals itself, develops, I guess is what I should say. And you start to learn more about the characters and more about the situation, then it becomes what it has been trying to become, which is this work of fiction that they just become the characters in the situation. And so the fact that they're like lifelong friends, that got my mind to forget that for a little bit and see them as the characters they were portraying, I thought was very successful.
Mm.
I thought Viola Davis was great. It was a little bit one note of just like stern protective mother. You didn't get to see a lot of sides to her, but I think that's probably true to the situation because Nike doesn't get to see shit. Nike gets to talk business. That's what you know about Michael Jordan's
Right.
mom. That's it. You know what I mean? So, um, and what else was I gonna say? Oh, Jason Bateman is just kind of always Jason Bateman for me. I don't ever,
Yeah.
I don't. He's never gonna be like Jason Bateman as Abraham Lincoln. All right, four scored 7 years ago. Like he's just Jason Bateman to me.
Have you
Um,
seen The Outsider?
no.
Okay. It's he's in that. I won't say anything else, but it's a similar. He's it's not a similar vibe, but I mean, it could be the same person he's playing,
Abraham Lincoln.
really. Yeah, Abraham Lincoln. He had the same facial expressions as he did
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this one, and it's a completely different tone, which makes it funny.
um, so yeah, I overall enjoyed it. The stakes weren't quite as high. I did ask myself at some point, like, why do I care? Why do I care? Because these are, again, big time, successful, set for life executives and athletes. And what is the repercussions? Like, why am I invested in this story? And again, we'll wait till we get to spoilers, but they give you
Hmm.
reasons to care. They give you some
Yeah.
personal stakes, some professional stakes, some
Hmm.
broader world stakes eventually. But for the majority of the movie, I'm like, yeah, this is really fun. I'm not sensing the weight of it. I wasn't anyway. For the majority of it.
Do you
The
think though that that could be because it is a true story and you know how it ends?
No,
No?
no, because
Okay.
I was ready to find out some big drama. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I know the Titanic sinks. I get really invested though beforehand and worry about everybody.
Yeah.
Like I never had that moment where I was like, yeah, let's get him. Let's get Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Like I never like got on that ride, I guess. The music, the first half of the movie, I really liked it, but then I started to notice it was about every 60 seconds there was another
I
stinger. I was like, this
I
is
made a
too
note.
much. This is too much. How did you feel about the music?
Yeah, like you at the beginning, I was like, okay, like we start out, a little Dire Straits action going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey, let's go. Like I love that song. That's a great way to start this movie. And then I did notice like there was I'm not gonna spoil anything, but there was like a sequence where I think it was either Matt Damon or Jason Bateman like walking around, and then like the music cut out, and then there was like some dialogue, and then it cuts to another scene, and there's another song just right back in. It's like one right after
Mm-hmm.
the other. I was like, okay. I get
Yeah.
it. We're trying to push like, hey, it's the 80s. This is 80s music. We're gonna shove it all in here.
Yeah.
But I
Like,
love 80s music, so it was okay for me.
yeah, like I said, most of it really worked. About halfway through the movie, I literally had like a timer to it where I was like, okay, and new scene, establishing shot, 80s hit. New scene, establishing shot, 80s hit. Okay, gotcha. Um, yeah, overall,
Were you singing along at all?
no. Oh, no.
No?
No.
Mm.
I did, but I actually I kind of appreciated the costumes more than the music because it was like throwback sunglasses and you know 80s jumper suits and stuff like that. So yeah, so not a lot more to say without spoiling the movie. So I do want to have a brief spoiler discussion so we can talk about maybe more specific things we liked or didn't like. So we will start spoilers right now. Full spoiler warning for the movie Air. If you have not seen it, look away, listen away, watch the movie, then come back. Full spoiler warning for the movie Air. You have been warned. So, with full spoilers activated, mirrors, anything more specifically you want to talk about, good, bad, or otherwise?
Um, I'm gonna be a little teeny tiny nitpicky. So I took some notes while I was watching. Um, there was a little bit too much for me personally. Hey, it's the 80s with this like specifically the 7-Eleven.
Mm-hmm.
There was literally like it was just shot of okay, Wheaties, shot of the it was like too much establishing like what time we're in. And they just seemed unnecessary. It was like him in 7-Eleven. Oh, let's look at here's the candy, here's the chips, here's the drinks, here's this,
Yes.
here's
Yes, I know
this.
what you mean. Yep.
It's like we know what year it is. We know what's going on. You don't have to like we get it. You don't have to keep telling us, hitting us over the head just for like nostalgia purposes. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it leaned into that a little too much.
Yeah.
Um, and then at least in the first half, because that's when I stopped taking notes. It seemed a little too dark, like lighting wise.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay.
It was like there were some scenes where it was like I could barely see what was going on. Um, and then at the very beginning, I didn't notice it through the rest of it. At the very beginning, there were some weird like editing, like awkward cuts. Like there would be on a shot, it would cut away, cut right back to the shot, and then cut away to. It was just like it didn't make any sense for it to like it was like somebody handing something to somebody, or it would like cut down. It just it there were it was unnecessary. I thought personally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that didn't happen too many times. And then they mispronounced my hometown. So
Oh, really?
that's all. Yeah, at
Um,
the beginning they were talking about basketball players
right,
and they
right, right, right.
mispronounced my city.
So, yeah, I think at the beginning, I think I know what you're talking about in terms of fast editing choices and a lot of cuts and like zoom ins and close ups. And I
Mhm.
feel like that was meant to mimic the frenetic energy of Matt Damon's character, both in his professional life of having to go from town to town and high school to high school looking for talent, and also the personal gambling addiction that he was struggling with, which kind of goes away
Mhm.
about halfway through the movie. It never is revisited or comes
Yeah.
back. They make some offhand dialogue about, we got to raise the stakes. Let's roll the dice. Let's go gamble.
Mhm.
But it's like it never like and probably because it's based on a true story, you couldn't go too dark or too happy. Like probably in real life, he just kept gambling. But part of the deal was like, listen, you can start with my gambling, but you don't end because I got a lot of money riding on this thing.
It just shows like it gets really dark and his wife leaves him.
And then that
He loses
overweight,
his
yeah,
house.
like when they're doing the title cards at the end, it's like, and then that overweight fucking loser kept gambling the end. Because they talk about his like weight and how out of shape he is and he needs to run more and stuff
Yeah.
like that, which that was kind of I
Yeah.
thought that was fun characterization and like banter moments that I liked in the moment for sure. I just wanted to
Mhm.
like I wanted to see it go somewhere. Like I wanted a resolution to, the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie setting up Matt Damon's character and what he does and who he is. That's a big part of it. And then it like
Mm-hmm.
never there's no resolution, good, bad, or otherwise. It just goes away. It's like now, well, let's make the shoe. Um, I will say too that kind of I want to say two things. Something that I really loved was the opening of the movie during the opening credits when it transitioned from genuine old 80s pixelated video to then 80s pixelated Matt Damon. It like
Mm.
showed him in the old timey footage and then transitioned to HD. I was like, that's really clever. I'm really happy they did that. That was really fun to watch. Um, and then the two things. And it all has to do with like, Matt Damon and his like belief and obsession that Michael was going to be great. I want to know, like, did he really know? Because a lot of this dialogue feels like
Mm-hmm.
it's written in hindsight.
Yes. Yes.
Where I'm like, you have the benefit of seeing the future and you're writing the past. And I feel like the future is shaping the past a little bit in terms of what characters said. Like, is that really what happened? I didn't see anything in trivia about the speech or, because like I'm watching the footage, and again, the movie wants you to buy in. Like I'm talking about, like at the end of the first act when he's watching the Michael Jordan footage and he like sits up in
Mm-hmm.
his chair and realizes, and it's like he's just fucking catching a pass, bro. Like there's nothing here that you're like, there's literally nothing to go on, nothing here, like it
he,
was
he
just
created like
like,
a whole like story within him catching the
yeah,
ball and
like
just shooting it, like doing just playing the game.
I was waiting for the fucking Sixth Sense plot twist where like Michael Jordan never existed. You were dead the whole time. What? Like,
Yeah, I agree. It did. I was the whole and I know some like true story movies will do that where it's like, oh, like we're betting all on this because we believe that this is going to work out, and it does, and it's like, but is that really,
I'm
that
telling you,
true?
it's an unsinkable ship. The ship will never sink. But I mean, I think there was like news, not to bring it back to Titanic. Everything comes back to Titanic. But
I have no problem bringing it back to
well, and
Titanic.
it's a true story biopic, or not true story
Hmm.
biopic. It's a true story that had fictional elements added to it, but it's
Hmm.
largely based around one of the most serious true story events in human history.
Hmm.
Um, but I think there was like newspaper clippings that justified everybody. It was literally called the unsinkable ship. That was a little bit more
Yeah.
believable. Like I don't think anybody like Michael Jordan was drafted into the NBA. I don't know if there were headlines that like NBA team picks kid off the street to lead their team. Like no, they picked a fucking
Right.
basketball player who's really good.
Yeah.
Like so.
But yeah, it did
Yeah.
seem it was like he was. I mean, he was willing to bet, his whole career on this one kid. Like, oh, he's gonna go on to win championships. He's gonna go on to do this. He's gonna do this. He's gonna do this. And it's like, okay, sure, but how
And
do
then he
you really
touches his
know that?
temple and he's like, he's gonna have 3 kids, 3 of them, aged 12, 7, and 5, and that's when he's gonna tear his ACL. We got to get out of this deal. We got to get out of this deal.
That would be a twist that he was actually a psychic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, literally
That would
anything.
have been some drama for you.
Literally anything except for this fuzzy image of him catching a pass. I can see the future. Like, just I don't know. And then the end, the big speech, the kind of Oscar
Hmm.
moment of the movie. I feel where Matt Damon is going all in for this family, and they're going through the motions. It's play the video, dim the lights. Playing the tricks with Ben Affleck showing up late, corporate tricks. But then Matt Damon realizes, let's cut through the bullshit and let me just talk to you
Yeah.
as people. And that happened, maybe it didn't. And even if it did, who knows if it happened in that way, if it was dramatized. But it's like, you and I, we all know, and they're just like staring at Michael Jordan. You're gonna be fucking great. You're gonna make us all rich, and we're gonna have perfect lives because you exist, wearing these shoes, no pressure. Um, so yeah, I thought the speech and the discovery and the passion of it was a little bit overboard. And again, the Jason, as far as the stakes of the movie, the Jason Bateman character basically expositing that he has a family to care about. Have you ever seen the movie
Yeah,
Vanilla Sky?
I have not.
Okay, I can't say it because it's like one of the best. Vanilla Sky is a must watch. It is.
Okay.
It's Tom Cruise's best movie besides Magnolia. Like, it was written and directed by Cameron Crowe. It's when Cameron Crowe was writing brilliant scripts. It was like the prime of his career. It was the prime of a lot of people's careers when Vanilla Sky came out. It is an awesome story. It's well told. You will love it, I think.
Okay.
So I won't make the joke here because it genuinely ruins one of the best things about the movie. But what I can joke about is Jeremy Renner from Avengers: Age of Ultron. That scene, I can't. I've only seen the movie once, 10 years ago, and I
Me
think
too.
about this all the time. How we get to see Jeremy Renner, and it's like, oh, the character of Hawkeye sucks, so let's give him a family to try to make audiences care. And it's like, yeah, here's my wife and my kids, and this is my family on my family farm, where my family is, and we farm. Somebody love me. Like it just was trying so hard to get the audience to care about this character. And so like with the Jason Bateman of like, I don't get to see my daughter very often, and when I do, I give her fucking $100 shoes and she loves me. Um I feel like there was a better way to show that, but I also feel like they were on a shoestring budget for this movie because it's like 7 actors in 2 locations, and it's their first venture in their first producing company. Do you know what's special about Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's production company? What they do?
No.
So their production company is called Artists Equity, and it's called that because they pay everyone at the same scale.
Oh, okay.
Everybody, above the line, below the line, in front of the camera, behind the camera, everybody gets to profit off of the residuals. And so they're trying to look for more parity for all the talent involved that it takes to make a movie, which is like really they didn't have to do that. They're rich movie stars, So
Right.
the fact that there was kind of that's what they're going for, that makes me kind of root for them a little bit even more.
That's cool. I
Um,
didn't know that.
yeah. So um, I feel like you could tell that this was a smaller budget film because of the, again, lack of locations. They probably used the same building for Converse, Adidas, and Nike and just redressed them and shot them differently. You know what I mean? Like those could all have been
Yeah.
the same boardroom. I don't know, but I admire that. I admire, limited resources. It breeds creativity. So probably there's a couple of exposition shortcuts because we're not gonna cast a little girl for 5 minutes of backstory and things like that. It's the logistics of telling the story didn't really matter that much, but we forgot to give it a rating during the spoiler free section, but it is an older movie, so most people will probably listen to the spoiler section if they give a damn about the conversation. So let's go ahead and give it our ratings and get out of here.
Okay.
So what would you rate it?
I decided to give it an 8.5.
Okay. And for people wondering, on superjersh.com, I have my own 1 to 10 scale that I describe. And so you can kind of understand the thought processes that we go through when we're rating these, whether it's movies, games, or anything. I would say an 8. Um, I think it was mostly very good. I guess you are proof that you don't have to be into basketball to enjoy the movie. But even me, somebody who was pretty intimately familiar with the stardom of Michael Jordan in the late 90s, I did ask myself, like, why do I care? A couple of different times in my head of this
Hmm.
movie. But yeah, because it's like, I don't know, like, what happens if they don't get Jordan? They all go work for a different shoe company because they all
Which,
have a lot of experience in shoes, I guess.
which one of them did? The guy that made the shoe.
Exactly. Yeah. So, anything else
What
you want to
did
add?
you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So during that speech towards the end, when it started cutting in actual footage of Michael and his family and like
Mm,
how his life turns out. And specifically
I thought that was pretty
with his
cool.
father.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll be honest, I'm getting a little emotional at this point.
Yeah. Especially if you
Uh
didn't know. If you knew,
yeah,
it
I
was
did
less of a
yeah, I
shock.
didn't know.
But yeah, his dad was murdered.
Yeah, yeah,
Have
I
you
was
looked into
reading
that
about
story
that.
at all? Okay, since the movie?
I heard like what the details of that. That's
Yeah.
horrible.
It is. And again, like, whether you are a shoe salesman or an executive or the best NBA player of all time, life happens to all of us.
Hmm.
So I agree with you. I guess we should have talked about the ending a little bit more there, but because I forgot to bring it up. But yeah, I agree that ending montage is really well done, and it serves two purposes. It serves the purpose to finish telling you, the resolution of the story of Michael Jordan, reminding you all of the eventuality of what happened as a result of all this. And I guess, again, like for me, it's always about what do I bring to a piece of entertainment. Even Michael Jordan suffered loss. Even Michael Jordan lost somebody
Hmm.
that he loved very dearly. It can literally happen to anybody. So you bring that to the story as well. And then like what he did for players uh, at large, which is to get players a more compensation, more fair
Hmm.
compensation for their likeness and their names with these partnerships and this merchandise. And then the Matt Damon character, Vicaro, I can't remember his first name right now. Um, he went on to help with the lawsuit to get college kids because all these colleges
Hmm.
were profiting all of these, again, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids who are bringing it, filling seats with thousands of fans to watch them play these sports. And he fought to help get them compensation for that. Like, just because I go to
Hmm.
school too doesn't mean I'm not an entertainment draw as as an athlete. Come on. Overall, very solid. Glad we watched it.
Hmm.
Glad we talked about it
Yeah.
here. That is going to do it for this episode of the Super Jersh Show. If you enjoy this podcast, like it and rate it wherever you listen or watch. You can enjoy this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. Just search Super Jersh or Super Jersh Show. If you want to email us to be a part of the conversations with any questions, comments, or suggestions for movies to review or movies we've already reviewed, you can email superjershow@gmail.com. As always, thank you for listening or watching. Until next time.